All right, so today we are going over some actual old test questions that I've put on a finance test. So basically, you might be asking the question like, okay, well, what does a test look like that has capital budgeting, NPV, IRR type of questions? And today, what we're going to do is go over some of this stuff. And you're going to find out that what I'm going to do is actually show you the exact test questions that I had one semester ago. And I'm going to go over with you to how to solve them and how to actually go through a compute step by step. I think this is going to be a really big help to anybody out there watching who, is in some basic, business finance, financial management type of class that is having trouble with the calculations, because this is going to be a great kind of check with me thing. Because what we're going to do is show these problems one at a time and then go over the solutions. So what you're going to end up seeing is how you solve these problems step by step by step, so that when you start working the problems on your own, whether it be a quiz, homework, a test, that you can feel a little bit more confident in how to work the problems. And you'll have a much better idea of what exactly that we're doing in a situation like this. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and get to the questions now. So on the test, the big thing to remember from these problems that are involving capital budgeting is that they're mostly problems. So the thing is, what you want to do, as opposed to the first couple of tests, which are, more conceptual and definitional type questions than actual problems, what you want to do is go here and look through these and see exactly, okay, what does this problem entail as far as, what calculations do I need to do? What formulas do I need to know? And so the formulas you need to know for this particular problem set are the CAPM formula, which is the risk-free rate plus beta times the return on the market minus the risk-free rate, and the weighted average cost of capital formula. So what I do with the weighted average cost of capital formula, I go ahead and give you exactly what the weights are and don't make you compute the weights in this particular variation. Now, if you get to a more advanced finance class, you will have to go through and compute those weights and do stuff like this. But what we're trying to do, because this is an introductory type of problem, is we want this to be as simple as possible so you can understand the concept and understand a little bit about what you're doing before we move to anything that's crazy advanced. So the last thing in doing these problems is to remember the rules of PEMDAS, or it can even be called, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So if you remember, what you're doing is you're doing what's in the parentheses first, then you multiply, then divide, then add. So as long as you remember to do it in that order, parentheses, multiply, add, then you're going to get the problem right. And almost always, if you get a CAPM or WAC problem wrong, it's because you did not follow the rules of PEMDAS. Or please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. I kind of like please excuse my dear Aunt Sally a little bit better. It kind of sounds a little more personable than PEMDAS. I mean, PEMDAS just sounds like a computer program gone bad or something. I'm not even sure what that's about. So this is the first problem from last semester's test, and this is a CAPM problem. And what you'll see in this problem set is you'll see the same verbiage repeat for 7 problems. But the question at the very end of the problem will tell you exactly what you're looking for. So in this problem, what I always did in school, and someone had told me this way back when, and it always has been like crazy successful for me. And it's always been something that I have done when taking a test, is I work backwards. So what I like to do is I like to go to the very bottom where it says, what is CAPM? And when I see that, what is CAPM, then I know that, okay, well, that's what I'm looking for in the problem. So if I know I'm looking for CAPM, what I'm specifically looking for in this problem is, what is the risk-free rate? What is the return on market? and what is the beta. So those are the three things, because keep in mind, the CAPM formula is only three factors. And so those being the only three factors are the only three factors that you're going to look for in a CAPM problem. So what you want to do in the CAPM problem is, again, go through this and read it, but be looking for the market return, the risk-free rate, and the beta. So a company is considering expansion into a new market. This will cost 1.5 million. The company estimates the project will have a beta of 1.1. Okay, that's the first thing we need. Second thing, the return on market is 10% and the risk-free rate is 3%. All right, we just got everything we need in order to compute CAPM. We don't have to worry about the rest of the problem because, again, those numbers are in there to solve other problems, but not the CAPM. So we got the three numbers that we're looking for. The beta is 1.1. The return on market is 10%. The risk-free rate is 3%. So let's go ahead and solve this out and see exactly how this would work. So when we solve this using the CAPM formula, how I have it laid out is step 1, step 2, and then step 3. So what you see in step 1 is the very first thing we do is follow the please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. We do what's in the parentheses first. So the very first thing we do is take the 10%, the return on the market, minus the risk-free rate of 3%, and we make that 7%. So that is the very first thing we do. So you see in step 2 of the problem, what we do is we then multiply, because keep in mind, PEMDAS, parentheses, then multiply, then add. So what we do is we multiply the 1.1 times 7%, and that gives us 7.7%. Then the final step is we add those together. 3% plus 7.7% equals 10.7%. So keep this handy. And when you keep this handy, because we are going to use this in further problems. So the answer in this case is 10.7%. And again, if you did not get it right, the primary reason that you did not get it right is you did not follow the rules of PEMDAS. And that is what you are wanting to do. Parentheses, multiply, then add. And just remember that going into a test. As long as you remember that, you're going to have a really, really successful